Hi everyone, my name is Valina and welcome back to my channel. Here, insert an intro of your choice because I still haven't decided on an aesthetic. Oop. Today, I am filming with the apples because after seeing the vlog, I really like the colors. Oh, what vlog? This vlog was like butter. In case you've missed it, this was a vlog where I read the book that I'm about to talk about, and I pretended I was in a Studio Ghibli movie. Anyways, today is the second video in my series that's reading the shortlist for the Women's Prize for Fiction 2021. All reviews in this series will be spoiler-free and will hopefully spark your interest. Transcendent Kingdom is a novel about Gifty, who's a young woman getting her PhD in neuroscience. She's doing a project on lab rats, sorry anti-animal testers, trigger warning, and well, she's basically feeding them like mouse drugs, and also she's cutting their brains open. Was that a bit too straightforward? If you're uncomfortable with that, wait till you get to confronting the grief and the family tragedy. Look, it's written well. The book is a piece that makes you reflect, but it does cover quite a lot of dark themes. This is not a spoiler, it's in the blurb, but basically her mother is suffering from depression, and her brother died from a drug overdose, and her father, I won't talk about what happens to him, but I will complain about him. It's not a big novel, but it manages to cover a lot of themes like spirituality, faith, mother-daughter relationships, mental health, immigration, race. There's a lot here, and these novels are always thought-provoking, so even if you don't necessarily like the story, I think by exploring and really connecting with these types of things, you can find out a lot of new things about yourself. It's like you can connect with yourself on a deeper sort of level when you're exploring this. That sounds like one of those reviews for a multi-level marketing scheme, but yeah, okay, no, there's no but. There will be things that provoke a reaction out of you, and sometimes you won't expect the reaction. For example, there's a moment when Gifty gets judged for her relationship with God by a friend. I was like, oof, don't do that. We were just told that she judges her, and later we actually get to the point where we get told what she said to her. Surprisingly, I kind of agreed with her critique because the key moment here is that she wasn't discouraging Gifty from going. It was insensitive, and personally, I wouldn't have said it, but like, her critique made sense. It wasn't just a straightforward attack onto Gifty for being religious. My surprise was more that after spending so much time with Gifty and emphasizing with her all the way, I didn't really like take her side on this issue. And obviously, we don't always have to have the same views as the characters, but over the course of a novel, we tend to really emphasize and get to know them. So I expected that I would be a little bit more empathetical towards her than I was. Seeing as we're now on the topic of religion, I felt like I could have connected with this more if I was a bit more spiritual as a person. As a child, I was sent to a Catholic school and we were made to pray before every meal, and we got the whole like do a bad deed and God will condemn you looks when we did something wrong. I mean, over the years after I've left that school, I haven't been really connecting with like a religious community per se. I would say it's mostly on my part, like I don't really want to. So reading about this, it definitely brought up some mixed feelings because of memories. There are things you miss and things you don't miss. I already talked about the whole like condemnation part in the other video, and this feeling of shame, how people who were supposed to support you and love you turned away in a hard time. I've already brought up the whole people leading the church, not the church leading the people in the other video as well, when Gifty became more self-aware in the second part of the book and she connected with religion a little deeper. She had that thought how it's people who interpret the Bible, not the Bible that leads the people, and it depends on the situation and it depends on the time. And as I've said there before as well, the reason that she started losing her faith was more because she was disappointed in the way that the community treated her, in the way that they treated her brother, and maybe she was also disappointed in the way that she treated her own brother because she had all those feelings of shame. So for her, it was like a double betrayal, which made her start to question it and did make her become more self-aware, which is a good thing, as I'll get onto later. But from the other point of view, it's always difficult to lose your faith. Now, about the scientific community, I've noticed in a lot of fiction lately how if you're a person in science and you're religious, people tend to take you less seriously because they think that you're like a Jesus freak. I thought it was a bit shallow here and a bit surface level. I would have liked for Gifty to explore her own intersections between belief and between science. I wanted her to discover them for herself. I wanted her to figure out to what extent she believes in what by herself, not just relying on the comments made by people around her. Gifty did undergo a lot of transformation in a very organic way. It felt transcendent. There's no other way to say it. Transcendent is defined as beyond or above the range of normal or physical human experience. It's like she moved a lot without actually moving. I would say that it's beyond what is normally experienced, and of course normally is a social term because it depends on your surroundings, it depends on what you've seen other people, it depends on what you think is normal. Of course there's many families who have to confront the legacy that a drug addiction leaves behind, both the shame and the disappointment that people who you thought would support you actually feel, and of course the financial toll. So she's not the only one in her grief, but it's still a difficult situation for her to be in, even if she knows theoretically that she's not alone. I would say the normal experience that we expect from a family is just the highs and lows of relationships, really. Like moving houses, or yes, of course, seeing a beloved family member die. But for Gifty, she has the added weight of watching her brother die from the drug addiction, and being an immigrant and in a working class family, and having to see her parents confront racism every day as a child. It's always a difficult thing to do, especially since her parents kind of have to take it because they are struggling to make ends meet. Yes, it's already beyond the range that privileged people experience, that we are lucky enough to call normal. But what I think really adds to her journey, really helps us to call it transcendent, is actually the work that she does with the mice. For her, the work is really therapeutic. She can help people with the work that she does, like she's helping herself. That's a really boss move from her part that really contributes to her journey as a person and as a character. Because in the beginning of the book, she's more like a sponge. Yes, she's well developed, but she sees the world relative to the people around her, and we move with her. It's passive, really. By the end, she's making her own choices and recognizing her emotions, taking hold of life by herself. I guess children are reliant on adults a lot, so it would make sense that she's doing that there. It just felt more like in the second part that she was actually the main character, as she is. She's the narrator. I guess it could also be the flashbacks, because she stops living in the past and she starts living in the present. Of course, she has to live with the memories of her family, and it's a difficult thing for her. She just has a very satisfying arc. It really is transcendent, and her work with the mice, I think it's because she's playing God. Whoa. Sorry, that just something flew by. I think it's what helps her become more self-involved, because she's the one who's in control now. Before that, it was forces beyond her control. Speaking of character arcs, I wanted to discuss her relationship with her mother. I'll quote, "If I've thought of my mother as callous, and many times I have, then it is important to remember what a callus is, the hardened tissue that forms over a wound." Okay, I've noticed in reviews there is a little bit of a tendency to vilify the mother. No, we are not doing that here. Her mother is doing her best as an immigrant, working all the time, shifts upon shifts, to make ends meet. She's experiencing poor treatment from basically everyone around her. They're paying her like nothing compared to the workload that she takes, right? And worst of all, her own children don't appreciate her. Now, what do I mean by appreciate? Just to make it clear, I don't expect them to be at her knees like some parents in books do, like, appreciate me, I gave birth to you. Dysfunctional families are a whole thing, okay? But what I'm trying to say is, because she's working a lot and they don't have a lot of food to eat, at some point she hides a little bit of food so that to make it last for next week. And she's not starving them on purpose. Like, okay, she's starving them kind of, but she's not really starving them, okay? She's moving it to make sure that they survive for the week, thinking of the future. And it's a difficult situation for her to be in. I just think that it was never really touched upon in the book. I'm happy for it to not be discussed, but that's just a moment that I want people to remember a little. It's not a spoiler per se. Motherhood is a difficult topic in the book. And you might be like, motherhood? Why are you only talking about motherhood? Why not parenthood? People, please. Fathers have a role as well. It's motherhood and fatherhood and parenthood. But in this particular scenario, it's not a spoiler to say, okay, it's a mini spoiler, but it's not critical. The father is closer to the brother. The reason that I'm not talking about him, even though usually in a book with familial relationships, I would talk about both parents because they both have a role. It's their child. It's not the mother's child. It's everybody's child. You both played. It takes two to tango, okay? Here, because he's not really engaging with Gifty that much. Yes, there are situations later, no spoilers, but if you want, we can discuss later as well. Just DM me over Instagram at the Book Reviewing Fox. There are situations where Gifty has to confront her father, and you can really see the difficult relationship that they have. But for the majority of the book, he's not present in her life. And since she's the narrator, and he's not really playing that much of a part in her role, this is why I'm not really discussing him, especially because it would be hard to do so without spoilers. But what I do want to say though is that the conversations that she has with her father after her brother's death, her brother is the buffer between them, right? It really strips away the layers and the family secrets, and that's when you can honestly say that sometimes relationships fall apart. What you think is a perfect relationship, it's far from it sometimes. And with her brother gone, it's a hard time for a family, and it's made even harder by the fact that everything is not as it seems.
You can get what you want in your wildest dreams.
That was a lot, but those are the things that I particularly wanted to expand on. Now, last but not least, depression and culture. Okay, this bit is quite short because I just wanted to mention like one particular thing, that as her mother is lying in her bed for months and she's experiencing a lot of apathy, she still refuses to call what she has depression. And from reading a lot of books by non-white people, I've gathered that for older generations, they don't see it as depression. And in Russia as well, people recognize that they have depression, but they don't name it as such. They prefer to keep it as something to themselves. It was an interesting idea in the context of this book because there are a lot of things that are left unsaid. Apologies, feelings of shame, just talking. And it serves as another reminder to say what you want before it's too late. And actually later, Gifty becomes more talkative and she starts to discuss these things. She starts to confront her parents about it. And I think it just serves as another marker of her progress as a person. Finally, when Gifty comes back to Ghana to visit her family, she's shocked at how welcoming they are. And her father talked a bit about cultural differences before Gifty actually visited. In my country, we are more of a community rather than America. And so for Gifty, she feels a little bit like she doesn't belong because it's a shock to her and it's so different from America. But in America, she doesn't completely belong either because she's black and people treat her as someone different. She just feels out of place in Ghana and out of place in America. But they're both places that she loves and that she wants to return to and that she cherishes them, even though they have their problems. In Ghana, when she doesn't remember being there at all, even though it's like her legacy, and in America because she feels like she belongs there, but she doesn't feel that it's completely hers, like the same with Ghana. Okay, that's it. That was a while and it's hot, so I'm gonna go inside. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe because I really need some of that engagement. Wink wonk. Stay tuned for more videos in the series. In terms of rating, I'm giving this one between 3.75 and 4.25. I have to read the other books, but I do think it's going to be a very, very difficult year to pick a winner in. Thanks so much for watching and goodbye!